I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Hello and welcome to the Flatlander Kennels podcast with Chris Jobman. My name is Elliot, and before we get started, I want to talk to you guys about the Patreon account real quick. If you haven't heard, Chris and I have started an account over at Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jobman, and if you come and join us over there, that gives you access to watch these broadcasts live. We've got a few patrons already here watching and commenting, and you also, your questions that you have for Chris will go right to the top of the list. And then in addition to that, in October, we're going to have a drawing for one person to come out with Chris and I and join us for a hunt weekend. The dates, I think, are the 27th, 28th, and 29th, or 29th, 30th, something like that of December, where you will come out and stay at the Duck Haven Lodge with, well, Chris doesn't stay there, but he's at his place, and he'll be there a lot, and I'll be there, and we'll be hunting several days at his amazing place on the Platte River. So if you want to come join us at Patreon, patreon.com/Jobman. Chris, what do you think about this Patreon deal we got going?
I hope it works out, and don't forget to remind them that if they are a Patreon member, they can come out and train with me with advanced notice and some talk about it. But they can come out and train with me and spend a week out here, those sort of things too. So that the members of Patreon are going to do that. So I hope it takes off. I think there's going to be a lot of good benefits. I'm sure there's going to be some bumps in the road when we do it, but I think it's going to work out good. I think there'll be a lot more interaction and a lot more personal interaction with us.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a way to really access the both of us. And if you join Patreon, like he said, you can come and train at his property within reason. And the way it works is every month that you are with us at Patreon for that year, you get one entry into the drawing that we will conduct live in October, towards the end of October. So every single month is one drawing, and then we put all the drawings into a random generator, and whatever's name comes out. I see we've got Billy here, Anthony, Bubba, Jared, Grant. I think I caught them all. There's one more maybe I missed, but so it's a really good deal. Come and join us, patreon.com/Jobman. We're going to hit the partners really quick, and we brought Freddie King back for a second week in a row. Last week, we talked a lot about his relationship with Chris Jobman, the SRS, and just random. Today, we're answering questions. So we've got a big Q&A list ready here to hit. We're going to go right through it. So it's going to be a really good time to bring Freddie back. Anyone from the South, you bring someone from the South on with an accent, and it's like people automatically love it. I don't know what it is about those goofy sounding accents that they like so much.
Yeah, I heard somebody made a comment. Hey, can y'all get Freddie to do some books or something? What in the world? They need to do some reading. Yeah, right.
I almost commented on that. As long as they're pop-up books, he'll be fine.
That's it. I can handle that. That's definitely my speed, man. Definitely
Pre-K book could probably be about pro.
Yeah, exactly.
I promise you.
Well, Chris, tell us about Marino Decoys, and then I'll share with them about Mammoth, and then we'll get right to the Q&A. Everyone's dying to hear Freddie, so let's get through this.
Yeah, one of our partners is Mike Marino of Marino Decoys. Really good friend of ours. He's out of Colorado, down by Pueblo. He does fantastic cork hand-carved decoys. And I own a dozen. I got 2 more dozen coming. My buddy Chris Aiken's got 2 dozen of them. You can hunt over them. They are unbelievable. He'll do any species of anything. They are incredible. Handmade out of his garage. His big thing too, when I bought one for my son's dog, Spank, he makes dog urns, and they're really unique. You can actually hunt over these urns. And what he does is, in the bottom of the decoy, he drills out a hole, and you send your ashes of your dog to him, and then he fills up shotgun shells. Like, you send him the shotgun shells, he fills up them shotgun shells with their ashes and countersinks them into the bottom of those decoys, and then seals them. So that way your buddy can go hunting with you anytime you want. You can throw them out in your decoy spread. They float. They don't gain water. They're fantastic. But give Mike Marino at marinodecoys.com and give him a shout, and he's going to do some unbelievable work for you.
The other partner I want to tell you about is Mammoth Guardian Dog Crate. I've been using it all year. Chris has a couple samples at his shop, and we both really, really love them. It's a phenomenal crate, especially if you pair it with the roll cage attachment. You can put it in the back of your truck, strap it in. It's really safe product with that roll cage attachment where you can travel and feel safe with your dog, but you're not going to pay the $700-800 as some of these other crates, and it's not so heavy you can't even pick it up. So it's a phenomenal product. It's Mammoth Guardian Dog Crate. You can go to mammothpet.com, Guardian 15 for 15% off there, or over on Amazon. Just put in Mammoth Guardian Dog Crate and you can find it on Amazon. So if you're in need of a crate, go and check that out now. All right, let's go ahead now. Got that out of the way. Let's bring Freddie on here and get to answering some questions. Sound good?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Hey, Fred, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming back to us.
Man, I you know what? I enjoyed the last one, and I was like, golly, I hope they call me back to do it. I enjoyed it so much, and sure enough, bang, man, when they do it, well, how about this? And heck, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, in all honesty, I mean, seriously, I do a lot of podcasts. Don't get me wrong and stuff, but and most of them are about ducks, not really about training, but ducks and hunting in general, that sort of thing. And I don't know. Well, we have interaction. We have a look. I hate to use this word. It sounds so feminine, but chemistry. So, and it all goes. It makes for a good time when you're talking with folks that real close to your, let me say, speed level.
Yeah. It won't sound too feminine, Freddie, if you don't look at me in the eyes when you say it. We'll be fine.
Well, I tried to look away. It couldn't make that sound. But anyway. But no, seriously, enjoyed it so much. Glad to be back.
Good. So, Freddie, what do you want to talk about today? I know you had some topics that you're thinking about. What's on your mind, buddy?
Well, I mean, not really just the topics. Y'all had some great. I didn't even write them down, so you kind of throw dead at me. But I mean, my thing is kind of feeding off what we were talking about last time was most of the time, folks, when they get that first dog, they're apprehensive about things. And what they got to understand is it's just like getting married. It's just like anything, that first kid, that first experience, anything like that. You just stay focused on it and keep taking the steps, no matter what's going on. And you and I both know that we'll get dogs in, and man, some of them are so easy, and we just fly right through them and no problem. Then we get that one dog that makes you completely wonder about your own abilities as a trainer. and that's what these people feel like when they're stuck, because they don't have any clue. And the main thing I want folks, especially the new people out there, and even folks that train 1, 2, they're like on their second or third dog, and they've got that dog that just ain't clicking. Don't even think about what's not happening or what's happening. Just keep taking the steps nice and slow and progressing everything. And like I tell people, you're teaching a dog, but you're also you're molding that dog. So, and I want people to understand that just stay at it. Don't ever get discouraged. Don't ever get excited or anything like that and show disdain while you're training and stuff. Just take the steps and enjoy it. If you'll tell yourself, listen, I got to enjoy every single bit of this, the whole process just goes better. That's my main thing, and I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. I mean, our own attitudes when we go out there to train, if we're having a bad day, even ourselves, for some reason, whatever, stump our toe, getting out of bed, and then, just whatever. And we come out there with a different mindset, we throw our whole training morning off real quick. Oh, yeah. And because and I hate to say this, and I'm going to say it just for the pure fact, because I'm human, I'm no better than anybody else out there, is when if that first or second dog, if you don't get yourself in that gear right, myself personally, it's hard for me to come back and straighten myself up on the next dog. And I've almost screwed up my whole day of training. I've got to walk to the other side of the truck and do whatever and clear my mind and say, listen, I'm training dogs here. Quit worrying about all that other mess or whatever. But I know I'm kind of getting off topic, but it's all the same kind of deal where you've got to just stay focused on the task at hand and not let things get to you. Whether your pup's acting like a pure retard or not, you just take your steps and enjoy it. And if you'll enjoy your training sessions, they just go so much better. And you got to learn. I can't remember if it was. I think it was Chris. Years too.
Chris
Scott. He
Chris
said,
Scott.
"Listen, yeah." He said, "You have got to be a good, decent trainer. You have got to have, and it's just like with your kids. You better have an awesome sense of humor, and you have to have.
Yes.
You got to have a sense of humor, and you got to take everything with a grain of salt, and you got to laugh about everything." I mean, that's just all there is to it. But anyway, that's one of the main things I wanted to go over.
Yeah, another thing too, people need to understand when they're training their first dog or their fifth dog or their 10th dog, or you're a client and you come out and watch your dog train, or you're training your own dog. We've had people come out and watch their dog that's like in transition, right? That weird season stage that they're young, they're gangly, their brains are all, clouded with, we're trying to throw everything at them, right? They're trying to learn. And then they come out and they're like, okay, this dog isn't running hard enough, or this dog looks like it's down, or it's mentally down. That happens. That is the process of training a dog. And good thing that's not the finished product. That's why, hey, this isn't the finished product. This is just, you want to come out and see your dog train. And don't get discouraged because it's a process and it's not the finished product yet. You know what I'm trying to say? So people get discouraged, and then people that have their own dogs get discouraged too. And it's always like, well, my last dog was this. Well, I can tell you your last dog will ruin a lot of future dogs for you, because that's all you can get your mind off of. And I always try to tell people, Michael Jordan's kids are not Michael Jordan. Like everybody's different. And they all learn different rates. So you got to understand and trust the process. And if you've got a good trainer and says, hey, don't worry about it. I'm not concerned. It's going to be fine. So you don't be overly concerned about it. And like I said, they go through their ups and downs. And some, like you said, some dogs fly through it. And some dogs, you got to kind of coax them through it. But that's the process. And like a lot of young trainers out there that have had, and you've seen it, I call them mud puddle kennels and, whatever, mosquito trainers and blah, blah, blah. But they just had one or two good dogs. Now all of a sudden they're a pro. Well, that's hard to do, because one or two dogs that are easy to train don't make you a good dog trainer. The dogs that you have to think about, and you've got to think outside the box, and you got to find out how they tick. You got to pull the choke and pump the gas to get them to run right. Those are the ones that make you a really good dog trainer. And the easy ones, I always say, anybody can train those. It's the ones where you got to be a level 10 dog trainer to get out anything out of a certain type of dog. And you see it a lot. All these trainers come out there and I'm going to be a pro. They got their first season title, and here they go. Well, that doesn't work that way. And then they get the hard one, and then next thing you know, it all goes to hell. But so you just got to understand the process and go.
Well, and going for what you're kind of the direction you're going there, it seems like most folks' first dog, for some reason, always turns out awesome. I mean, they're like, for some reason, and all I can put it to is pure fact that they're probably TRT members. No, their first dog, you always seem like you take your time with it. You're doing this, you're learning as well as that dog, and then when you come into that second dog, you think you know everything already, and that's what sets you back. And you can't, and that's the only thing I can think of, and that sets them back. And
then their second dog, then their second dog, they're like, it's not as good as my first dog. Well, it might be. It might just learn differently.
You weren't as good as you were your first dog, is what the issue
Correct.
was.
It takes, you've got to train, like I tell everybody, you got to touch hundreds, if not thousands, of every personality, because, I've been doing it for so long, and so have you, and so everybody else has. When I see these dogs, when I first started out, when we had dogs that were struggling through the program, I would get super nervous. I'd be losing all kinds of sleep. Like, oh my God, I ruined him, or he ain't going to make it. Now this client's going to be upset. After you've been doing it for so long, you've seen so many personalities, unless it's a really bad problem, and I'll let the client know. But most of the time that stuff, like, it'll be better. I promise it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And unless you've touched a pile of dogs, it is really hard to understand that concept. Just because you made a season dog doesn't make you a pro.
Well, I've got a question for both of you from what you guys have said. First, Freddie, when you said if you have a couple dogs and you can't get yourself right after those 2 dogs, what personality trait is it? Like, you're short-tempered, or what is it about yourself you've got to watch if you're in a bad mood?
I'm not staying focused on that dog, and I'm trying to get through a session too quick. Most of the time I'm trying to push the dog a little bit too much because of my anxiety leads over to the dog, and just letting frustration. I'm not pushing buttons or anything like that, but just I may be trying to overtax that dog, and I don't give a darn. You can walk up to the line, and if your emotions or your physical traits or if your emotions are coming through your body physically to that dog, they instantly pick up on it. So, and they're gonna walk to the line hinky with you, and I mean they'll get weird in a heartbeat, and especially if you got a line of them chain ganged out there, and they hear you raise your voice one time when you normally don't, then boom. I mean, it's just the whole
like
chain gang goes into that.
They just pick up on everything.
Well, they do. They are paying attention to your vocal cues, your body language, and all those kinds of things. And with me, 100%, it's when I get frustrated or when I start getting, I'm extremely energetic. I'm on my feet all the time doing this and this and this, and I start moving too fast. So I guess I make ADHD or whatever you want to talk. But I start moving too much fast, and Chris is the same way. So I know he'll start moving on you real quick, and so that's where my issue is. And I gotta just stop, bring myself back down. That's why I always talk about people. If you're actually training with me, and you see how I train, I barely talk. All my cues are soft. All my vocal commands are either snaps to my fingers or taps to my legs, and the dog's having to pay attention to me. So if I start talking or if I start rushing my dogs immediately know something's up, and it's just they're just geared to that now, I guess. So anyway, I hope I made sense. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, my question for you is: you talked about dogs that are harder to train. Is there one trait that a dog has that really keys you? And you're like, oh, this dog's gonna be tough. What are those traits you identify early?
There's a couple. There's a couple. And I hate lack of effort. I can't stand lack of effort. If they're lazy, lack of understanding is much different than lack of effort.
What does lack of effort look like? Like, they're not running their hardest? They quit early on marks?
No, speed doesn't have anything to do with it. I call it, and I talk to my clients about this all the time. People are infatuated with dogs running with desire that run fast. That's not always who wins. Like, so you can kind of tell. I call it determined momentum. Like, just because they're not running wide open doesn't mean they're not enjoying it. Doesn't mean, but if they're running with some determination and some good momentum, I'm fine with that. You can tell the dogs just kind of like lollygag out there, and they go into the area of the fall. They look around, they stop, they wander over by the bird boy. They just do anything in their power to not do the job. And that's one thing that drives me nuts. And the hardest dog I personally think to train is the stubborn / sensitive or soft dog. And those are, holy moly, those are hard. I'm sure Freddie's seen them where they're so stubborn, you have to get into them a little bit to get them going. But then when you do, they're sensitive and they start shutting down. It is the hardest. It is the hardest trait I've ever seen in my life. A lot of female Chesapeakes are like this, female Goldens, that sort of thing. They are so difficult, but the problem with those dogs are they're most of the time they're really intelligent. So they know how to get out of the work. They know how to be stubborn. Then you get into them, they're like, oh, poor me. Then they start tugging at your heart. They know how to push your buttons, and they know how to pull it. They're so intelligent. And those dogs like that are where trainers get in trouble with overdoing it.
Those dogs they're the ones that it's a confidence issue is what it boils down to. They just have a lack of confidence, and anytime you get into them, they just go into that just complete submissive mode, to where it's like great, where you've got to baby them to bring them back. And I mean, you'll spend 3 times more time on that dog than you will any other one on the kennel. And that dog could be smart as a whip, and he or she will work you to death. And I know for a fact it's because they've come from home environments where owners have when they went to collect the dogs and stuff, they rolled them over on their bellies, and they did all this belly scratching and talking to them after they got in trouble and all. And it puts them in that baby kind of deal.
Well, they humanize them. I always tell my clients, this is not your daughter, this is not your son.
There you go.
This is an animal, and you need to think about it like an animal. Now, I'm not saying being mean. I'm just saying you need to think like an animal. Dogs are pack animals. When a dog or a wolf or whatever you want to say steps out of line, alpha comes around and puts you back in line.
And that's right. You don't grab you don't muzzle grab a puppy and then go next thing you do loving on it. You as soon as you muzzle grab it, you turn around and you go on with it. So
and those are by far the hardest to train, in my opinion. And those but if you love to train dogs, and that most of us do, you should embrace that style of dog. You should embrace it. So if you're a young trainer out there, or you're a young pro, and you get these very, very difficult dogs, you should embrace those dogs, because that's a challenge. That's going to make you better. And when I say, I'm not saying get frustrated. I'm not saying add pressure. You need to stop, think about what you're doing, use your head before you react. Like, don't just start pushing buttons. And you've got to think your way through that. And I've made a pile of grand champions that were so sensitive and so soft that they wore a collar, but I never used it. Like, so you have to think outside. That's what and everybody knows this. That's what makes you a really good dog trainer. The flashes of the world don't make you a good dog trainer. No, it's the ones that struggle that make you a good dog trainer. And like I always tell, I've said this 1,000 times on here. Our job is to make the poor dog good, the good dog great, the great dogs legends. That's our job. That's our job. And so you've got to think about how to do that. And then, like what you're saying, Freddie, I always tell this to people too. 10% of the dogs take up 90% of your time.
That's 100. Nailed it right there. Nailed it.
And I always say, like, I should charge more for this dog because it's taking me twice more of my energy. I mean, it really is. And we don't do that, but people need to understand that. And then it's the same way with like clients and stuff. 10% of your clients take up 90% of your time. That's just kind of how it works, So
it's just the way it is. But no, going back to that, it's folks need to, when they're first starting off their dog, because I mean we're talking to a lot of new trainers, probably mostly new trainers, and they just got to learn to slow things down, enjoy the whole experience with your pup, and if you're making it enjoyable for yourself, then all of that's going to portray to your whole training session. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah. And comparing your dog to your buddy's dog or your other dog, or that's not enjoying it. Quit doing that. Quit. I have so many people like, I just went to a trial today and look at this dog go. And it's like, don't compare your dog to anybody else's dog. I know it's human nature. Train the dog in front of you. Quit worrying about the noise. Train the dog in front of you. And once you do that, and you have an appreciation, just say this dog doesn't run as hard as your last dog, right? Let's just say that. But it sits at the line nice. It doesn't make a peep. It heels perfectly. takes every cast. It goes where you tell them to go. Just because they don't run as hard doesn't make them a less of a dog. That means they're more intelligent, and they're not in any big hurry to get there because they know where they're going. So
that's it.
Don't get into that, because you have to appreciate what you're looking at. And the people that own multiple dogs probably own multiple personalities, and then they think the dog that maybe doesn't run as hard as the other dog, like, oh, he's not as good as my one that runs faster. He's probably better. But you were trying to make him don't just appreciate the actual dog for what it's doing. Don't try to compare that.
Well, we ready to hit some questions?
Sure. Freddie, did you want to talk about meat dogs, gun dogs? Is that something I heard?
Well, I mean, yeah, we can talk about meat. We can talk about meat dogs, gun dogs, and
real quick.
And I know you're going to say the exact same thing. There is no difference in training either one of those. Now, we're going to do what we're doing with a grand dog or a dog that might be running qualifiers or what have you is going to get the exact same training as a meat dog. They're going to see the exact same things from day one to the very last day. And where the difference is, there is none. That's just it. We're going to train them exact. And so people say, well, because I get that all the time with members. Well, don't want any ribbons. I'm not looking to do this. I'm not looking to do that. And I'm like, it's still the same training process. And folks need to understand that when they see us out there doing these long marks and stuff, and I'm trying to convey to them that we're doing a 200-yard mark so that our dog can pick up a 100-yard mark easily. We're running 200, 300-yard blinds so they can run 200 yards. So you need to always think about that. And, I mean, because right now you're getting them all back. I'm getting them all back. We got 30, 40-yard dogs coming to us right now that we're going to have to stretch back out there to where they can actually run some marks. And because all of them have picked up stuff short and the decoys and just run with their nose down on the ground. I did a video the other day running with their nose down on the ground and all kinds of idiotic stuff. But the training is exactly the same. We're not going to skip any steps. We're not going to ask less of our force fetch. We're not going to ask less of our lines, because you and I both know, everybody that trained a lot of dogs or hunted a lot of dogs, straight lines pick up more birds successfully, put more birds in your pocket. And so with that being said, we need to always have, no matter if our pup's just going to be a hunting companion, we want to make sure that they're held to a standard, that they are trained just like we would any pup that's going to run a hunt test or run a trial or any type of event. There's no difference.
Yeah. And I always get to saying this, I can't, and I'm sure you have too, is like, I don't need one of them fancy field trial dogs. I'm like, that's what they say. I don't need one of them fancy field trial dogs, but I want it to stop to a whistle, and I want it to take casts, and I want it to run blinds. I'm like, it's the same training. Like, people don't understand that. It's the same training.
Well, here's what they really don't understand.
In my opinion, every hunting dog should handle. Every hunting dog should stop to a whistle and cast. Now, do they need to be a Grand Hunter Retriever champion to do that? No, but they need to be seasonish level, intermediate level, and to get you by. But I think every single dog should handle, because especially how we hunt on the river, it's a pain. But and people don't understand that. They say, "Oh, I just want a meat dog. I don't need," but I want to stop to a whistle. Can you get that done in 3 months? I'm like, no.
No. Hey, I can't if we can find one you want to buy it already trained. But
yeah, exactly.
That's about the only. And I try to convey to a lot of the folks that listen, man, you get a 3 or 4 year hunt savvy dog, and they're going to blow a lot of these hunt test dogs away. I mean, you get a 3 to 4 year old, a dog that picks up 1,000 ducks a year. I mean, it's going to be a well-trained dog. It's going to be, that son of a gun is going to know his job. He's going to be, stopping on a dime on the whistles, and you're not ever going to hear him. You're not ever going, most time, not even know that dog's there, and it's because of the training that dog has had.
And you can't compare, and you know this, you hunt as much as I do, and Elliot hunts a lot too. You can't compare. I don't care how much money you've spent on training a dog. I don't care if you spent 50 grand or 500. Your first hunting season is going to be extremely frustrating. Extremely. It's not, well, my last dog was, stop with that crap. It is so frustrating to watch these young dogs that are good dogs in training, and they put them in situations over their head when they hunt, and then they just explode. They can't handle it, and then it's your fault, right? So your first hunting season isn't going to be nothing compared to your third. It takes birds and experience and doing it the right way to make a great dog. And you can't say, well, I took him 50 times this year. How many birds did you shoot? 100. Well, when you hit 1,000, let me know.
There you go.
Because that's what you're going to see. So I get a lot of that frustration with clients, but by the end of the season, they're like, oh, they did great. I'm like, I told you, it just takes time. It takes time. And too many people try to rush that.
No, they do. Take them on a big Canada goose hunt, lay out blinds that first morning. They cast a season level dog after a big old live honker, and he gets the snot beat out of him. And they're wondering why that dog won't ever touch another Canada goose.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've heard that one before.
We shoot them up here, man. Trust me. And a lot of people shoot geese, and they're like, "You won't pick up a goose." I'm like, I'm going to force it on them. I'm like, "No, you're not. Stop. Don't do that." So we fight that all the time.
Yeah, well, I think when the common guy refers to a meat dog, I think what they mean is a dog that doesn't handle a lot of times,
or not steady. Yeah.
Or I think of a basic meat dog is steady but doesn't handle. And I mean, Georgie's the first dog that I have had that can handle. And I can say not just from like the functionality of how it helps a hunt, it is so fun to handle it. It makes hunting so much more fun when you can handle a dog than when you can't. Let alone the fact that you just don't have to walk through all that muck and you don't lose birds as much. But it is just so much fun. I mean, if you're gonna have a dog, and you think I just want a meat dog and doesn't handle, there's no reason. It's just, there's no reason to not get it to the point where it can handle. There's just no reason for that.
Yeah. Let's hit some questions.
Going back to that handling right there, what you're talking about. Now, one thing that I will possibly change a little bit more, because that dog's not running hunt tests, so he's not maybe seeing a lot of multiples in my training program, but I will probably run 2 to 3 more blinds with that dog than I will than marks. The marks will all be singles, and I'll run, because here's the thing, a dog that's going to hunt a ton, I want that son of a gun, when I say dead bird, he looks straight, and when I cast him, he's running as hard as he can in as straight a line as he can, and goes straight there, straight back, straight there, straight back, straight there, straight back. You don't want that dog that guy standing out there hollering, screaming, back, over, no, here, no, because you want one whistle dogs, is what I call them. That dog should be able to run a blind with at 100 yards. You should be able to pick the downwind side of that bird and go back, and that son of a gun hold a good enough line at 100 yards that he won't ever get on the upwind side, and all you might have to do is go tweak, cast the dog into the wind even closer to the bird. That's 90% of them. So, and that's the only thing that I ever do different. So, and like you were saying, Elliot, I mean, those handling dogs like that, they make or break hunts. And I mean, and so the quicker, the better handling dog just always make a hunt better. Anyway.
And like you said, and I've hunted with Elliot, and our hunting blind retrieves are different than our hunt test or field trial blinds.
Exactly.
A lot of times you don't know exactly where the bird is at. You have a general vicinity, but you don't want to be 50 yards downwind of it. You want to just, like you said, be a little bit downwind. And we do that all the time. We just send them a little bit downwind and they hope for the best. Too many people, that bird fell at 12 o'clock and the wind's blowing right to left, they set him at 12 o'clock, and then that dog is not, like you said, been taught to not fight a factor. It ends up at 9 o'clock fading with the wind, and you have no chance. Then you're given an 80-yard, which I'll tackle you for that. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But they don't understand where to put them. And we try to teach it to all of our clients that, hey, this is how you do it, blah, 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 blah. So, but it's a different type of blind that you run in hunting than, unless you know exactly where the bird's at, right? It's a little bit different. But that's just how we do it too.
I got a client, you said that about over it, and like I tell them, your dog probably about 3 weeks after power work forgot what an over is about. And I said, there's no such thing as an over anymore. So if you gotta throw an over at your dog, you've let them get way too far offline in the first place. So anyway,
my dogs won't go 5 yards on an over, Freddie. They won't do it.
No,
they won't do it.
Not anymore. No. Once you get past that initial power work junk, it's done. Yeah.
Once the tee is done, we're done with those. Everything that we run, everything's 10 to 2. All of our cast works from 10 to 2. So
yeah, and that's what Chris Aiken got on to me about was my dogs were too fine-tuned, where their degree of change was I might feather the right side of the line, and when I'd give them that angle, they would only give me about 5 degrees. Now, if I give them a straight up, they gave me 2, but they were used to me running them like missiles. All right.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't. He'd try to get that. He'd let him get over too over, and he'd try to do that step thing, and they wouldn't ever cross the line. So I had to change everything for Chris to teach my dogs to cross the line.
and it's funny you say that, Freddie. I have had this discussion with Chris about your dogs 1,000 times. He's like, these damn things, they won't change direction. I'm like, I remember when we first got Thief. Thief was like a missile, man. I mean, you point him, and that's where he's shooting, and he's like, he won't give me 20 degrees.
No.
We've had that conversation 1,000 times, Freddie, 1,000 times.
Yeah, but that song is a blind running through, man. And
if you're going to run tests and trials, and you got to be able to change direction, that's all there is to it. So that's a whole podcast on itself, but you got to be able to change direction.
It is. So I quit training them that white coat way and just started, all right, we'll get them hard angles and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway,
let's hit some questions, Elliot.
Let's do it. All right, now for those of you listening, if you come over to patreon.com/Jobman, your questions go to the top of the list. We always answer questions from patrons before we go to the questions off of the Facebook group. So we're going to start with Jared Hoffman. He says, my dog tends to pop on water within the first 10 to 15 feet when sent, and sometimes he'll pop when I have a big land entry before the water. Why does this typically happen, and what drills can improve his perseverance and confidence? I want an HRCH and MH dog. Right now, the big water blinds is our weak area. I have a good dog, HR and JH, that gives me 110% all the time. I want to do it right. And Jared's one of them listening right now live.
Well, I'm just going to, Freddie, you can answer this, but here's the thing, Jared. Thanks for the question. We need to know more about your dog.
Exactly.
Did you water force your dog? Did you do water tee? Did you do swim by? Did you de-cheat? Have you ran a long water entry? Have you ran marks with the dog away from the water to realize it can do that, right? If all you're trying to do is run blinds when you're way away from the water, it doesn't actually realize it can do that. If you would run marks that way and the dog understands, get in and swim across the pond, let's go get it. But
Chris,
what steps have you done?
Jared said he's done all those steps. He's here and commented. He's done all those
Ready?
steps. Yeah.
Answer Jared's question.
All right. Well, then the dog's showing the lack of confidence in driving. So there's a lot of variables there. Not enough water work. So what a dog that I have issues with, let's say he pops mid stride before getting water. All right. I'm going to give that dog a back nick on that next cast, and I'm gonna cast that dog into the water. Cool. All right. We're gonna get to the blind pile. Then when the dog comes back, I'm going to line that dog back up and take a half step forward with a nick, and I'm going to give that dog a cast. And in that spot that dog popped, I'm going to give him a nick back again. Right. And if I see the dog slowing down, now this is my dog that knows what forced in route is. So, and I'm not talking about a lot of pressure. I'm giving a verbal back nick if I see him start slowing down. And I will repeat that blind till that dog does not need that. Then, to me, a dog like that needs some confidence built back in it. So we're going back to we're going to probably be running 3-peat blinds on everything, and that's about the only way. Or run what I call a walking blind, walking wagon wheel blind, that sort of thing, to where I'm scouring the water, moving. If your issue is on the water, then I'd keep moving the line, but your same point is always the same, and I would. Generally, you want to make the blind harder as you're moving your line, but that's what I would do. Is I'd just do 3-peats like that. That'd be the first way I would combat it.
Yeah, and those are all great. That's great advice. One thing I would put in there, maybe let's just say your dog is lacking a little bit of confidence when it comes to, or it's a little bit nervous about the long water entry. And to get into the water, he pops. Let's just say it. I would maybe do some bird boy blinds with that dog, like as marks. Like maybe run a mark like that. So the dog may not actually understand that's what you want of them. And if you throw a mark out there, maybe it'll gain its confidence. Well, I can run all the way down there and I can jump in the water. It's not a big deal. So if you add maybe some marking to that, and if all you've ever done is run a blind retrieve, like, and you're 50 yards from the water, you're like, back. It doesn't understand what's really happening. And if you would run marks like that, it may have some confidence to run down there and have the heart to jump in the water and go. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. But Freddie, you're spot on with all that too.
And if your dog's showing a lot of confidence, or lack of confidence, let's say on water work, I would definitely go back and shorten everything up on water. And what I do, simplify everything. And if you got a good place to do, I'd run some 9-point on water. If I started running 9-point on water, my dogs instantly start getting a lot better confidence, a lot more confidence, and especially when I started incorporating the swim by in my 9-point on water. And then I would cast them from one line to the next. And then I'd back up from the water. They challenged everything a lot better. They could see the lines. I guess is what the reasoning behind that was. They can see the lines better, but their confidence would. But
one thing I've done that's kind of goofy that I just kind of came across it is when I've had dogs that struggled like getting in the water, or when they got in the water they would go 5 yards and pop, that sort of thing. What I started doing, and it's kind of a game, is I'll say dead bird back, and I'll force them into the water. But when they hit the water and they're swimming, I'll throw a bumper as far as over their head as far as possible.
There you go. That's a trick right there.
And there's no set destination to their blind. There's no set destination. So I just kick them off, and I just throw, and I force them into the water. But then I'll throw a bumper way over their head, and then they're swimming. They're getting kind of nervous. They're getting ready, and I don't really want to force again because I just did it. You maybe lack confidence. All of a sudden, splash! That bumper hits out 15, 20 yards in front of them. Oh, there it is. It takes off. So you like I said when we were talking earlier. There's no set fix to that. You got to know what makes your dog tick. And if it's a sensitive type dog, that works really well. You just have to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I will tell you one thing that probably. Hopefully did he go through a whole pattern blind program, Elliot? If he's listening, did he go through a whole pattern blind program? We have an extensive pattern blind program.
He'll respond. Too. Yes, he said he did.
He did.
Okay,
yes, he did.
Good. So here's what, and Freddie, you may disagree with me. I'm not sure about this, but here's one thing I do know. Dogs that have been through a whole pattern blind program, if you go back to pattern blinds, they're going to look like $1 million. And you're like, I got it fixed. The second you go back to cold blinds, they're going to do the exact same thing. Because an advanced dog like he's getting to be, you go back to pattern blinds, it's easy. And then you know what? That's what they want. They want it easier. And then you think, look at me, I'm a dog trainer. And you just did the exact opposite of what you should have done. The only way to get good at running cold blinds is to run cold blinds, and we've got to run 1,000 of them. And over, and we just, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but a lot of times going back to pattern blinds doesn't fix the problem. It makes it worse because it's a crutch. It's a crutch.
It is. And, one of my deals is I call them 1-for-1 drills. TRT, we're all about when we come off the pattern blind field, we do a 1-for-1 drill. All dogs start it, and it's quite simply, we pick out one really nice blind, and it's going to be over here. Marks may be over here. We're going to teach it short, back the line up. We're going to run it one time short, back. We're going to say a mark, turn, run that blind. Boom. We're going to pick the mark up, and then those dogs just learn. They just build that confidence. So we start our line short, and then we're stepping back, making our line to the blind longer, where that one blind might be 300 yards by the time we get to our third time we run it. But our mark is seen from a different place every single time. So it really helps build their confidence. And when you step over the cold blinds, it's all about definitely keeping their confidence rolling, because it's easy to beat them back if you ain't careful.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next question, I want to add one more thing. So if your dog, if Jared, if you know you've taught your dog all these things, you know he's been forced properly, and you do all these things to fix it, and he starts doing it again, one of two things is happening. You're either overhandling him, you never let him get any momentum at all. So just because you're running that blind at 12 o'clock and he's veering off to 1 o'clock, if you've got a dog that pops, let him go to 1 o'clock. Who cares? Build the momentum. So if that doesn't do it, and then you've done all the things and he keeps continually doing that, then that to me is maybe it's showing lack of effort. And that's when you add a little bit of pressure and you're like, hey, listen, you're going to do what I tell you to do. And so you've got to read why they're doing that. Lack of confidence, lack of understanding, lack of effort. So
just like Chris is saying, when we come off the pattern blind, not to interrupt you, but when we come off the pattern blinds, our dogs look like missiles. My 5-leg, my longest one is 425. My shorter one is about 210. And then 3 of my legs are on water, crossing water points, and then off points, that sort of thing. So they come off of it real strong. But as soon as we go to that first cold blind, I mean, they got big bowls in them, and I'm trying not to impede their building momentum. So I may have to let them get way off my line first time, and then next time they just get tighter and tighter and tighter. By the time you run that third one, they look like a missile, and that's all you're trying to do. And they learn. They don't get in trouble for them bows. What they get in trouble for is for not taking the cast when you give it to correct that line. That's what they're going to get in trouble for. So just let them keep rolling and make them think about the cast, not what they're running. Make them think about 100%. The cast you're giving.
Yep. All right, I think we covered that one good.
But before we move on, for amateurs, Freddie, what is 9-point on water? Can you describe that real quick? Just real fast.
Oh boy.
Well, 9-point on water.
Away from this one.
I hear you. All right. Well, I'm running 9-point on water, and what I do is I started doing this a couple of years ago. Actually, it's been longer than that, probably about 4 years ago, and I'd been dabbling with it quite a bit. When I got done with my forced the water teeth, and I started doing my D cheat on my water. I started shaving my points and stuff, teaching my dog to take that cast back into the water. And once we had that swim by going, then we was kind of done, and we'd go to 9-point and start teaching, getting our angles a little bit better, and then move on to wagon wheel and pattern blind. So I always come back to water. Once we started doing water work, we always had to de-cheat more, had to do this and had to do that. We always had to teach water and stuff. So I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can't do 9-point on water, and it take care of 99% of the issues that I have training a semi-advanced dog on water, dropping back to water, running these long down the shore blinds and over points, stay off that point, learn what jumping off the point instead of digging back, teaching all those things. So what I started doing was soon as we got done with the initial D cheat, which I call phase 2 of Ash's life on the TRT website, I started running. I teach my lines from 9 different points to 1 point. And all the points are either going to be a channel blind, or it's going to be across a point, off the point, over a big island, off the end of an island, and then finish on each end with down the bank channel blinds. All right, or one's a channel blind, one's a down the bank. All right. So I teach those lines. Those dogs will run them till, they'll start laser beaming, and it don't take them long to learn it. It's all sight marks. They can see it. Everything's manicured, and I'm running about 75 to 85 yards on water doing this, and most of it's lunging water, a little bit enough swimming stuff that I can stop them, and anytime I'm stopping them, I'm just teaching them to tread. And I use shallow water to teach them to hold their spots. Then we move into the deeper water, and they just learn to tread so much better. And I'm real big about them locking in on my hands. All right, then once they get that, then I turn everything around. I go to my single point, and I start running it back the opposite direction. I'll start in the middle, and I'll run straight a lot of times right over my big island. And I built this pond exclusively for this, so I'll run my first blind. I teach them to run right to that pile. Boom. Next time they come back, I line them up. I run them as soon as they get to the island. About the time they're going to hit that island, boom, I stop them, and I give them that slow, and I do it deliberate and slow, and I take them, give them that slow angle to the right, and they'll want to dig back, but eventually they learn just to take that cast and change their line and end up where they had been running, coming back so many times, because as soon as they turn, they just see that change of direction. Am I making sense? Mm-hmm. They've already been coming that way with a bumper. Now I've stopped them en route going to that back pile, and I give them that cast. Well, the next thing you know, boom, they're learning angles and not to get on that land, and they just learn to feather the land, and then I can stop them with the bumper coming back and run that same angle back the other way and cast them back to the middle point that we were running. So it gets pretty doggone detailed, but it seems so much simpler for them to understand the whole premise behind 9-point and teaching them those angle casts, and it converts to a bigger swim by than to where they're crossing 2 or 3 points and driving all the way out to that far bumper to the right or the far one to the left, and their confidence goes up so much. I find that it does. So anyway, did that make sense?
Yeah. So Elliot, basically what he's saying is we 5-point, 9-point, whatever, but the more you handle your dog going out and returning, the better it's gonna be. The more this is gonna sound crazy to a lot of people. The more you make your dog handle, the more confident they are when you blow that whistle. So if you don't make your dog handle and you run to a white bucket over and over and over and over and over and over, the more you make them handle, the better are they gonna be. Your lines are gonna come. So you got to make your dog handle, and that's what 9-point does. It makes your dog handle all over the place.
Okay. All right.
So
let's
now, anybody that's got questions, like whoever asked that question, if you'll PM me on Facebook, I'll send you a diagram and show you exactly what that 9-point on water looks like.
Throw that diagram up on our podcast Facebook page. Throw that up there.
Yeah,
I'll do that. Yeah.
Throw that on there. Throw that on.
Yeah, please do.
Yep.
All right, next question is from another patron, John. He has a 3-year-old that got his MH last summer, going 6 for 7. He ran on a pro's truck, and now John is taking over. They ran a queue together and did pretty well. They've had some nice days to train after duck season, but he's having trouble finishing blinds and cover without him putting his nose down and hunting. Usually this happens on long distances, and he blows off whistles and nicks and hunts. So my question is, how do I keep control at the end of the blinds?
Well, here's what I would do. I would run every blind upwind of it, box it in. But what I would do is I would start with a short pile in the cover. I'd run a short one at 100 yards, go just upwind of it, and then bring it back, tweak to your right side. If you go to the left side of the bird, tweak, make that dog come back into the right side. If the nose goes down 99%, and you know he's just going into hunt mode, tweak, nick at the same time. Tweak, nick, make that dog lock back into you, and then tweak. Make that pup finish with your arm extended down to the right. Tweak, and make that dog finish. Next blind, as soon as that's picked up, next blind's 180 yards. Past that line, just to the left, wind blowing from left to right. You want to box it in from the upwind side, drive past it, make that dog stop. I'm talking 25, 30 yards long. Tweak. Make them come back to you and keep that head up. If the dog goes into hunt mode, tweak, nick, that's a nick, tweak, sit, for a sit, tweak, bring that dog. I will run that out to 300 yards to where they learn to when they look, they got to pay attention, because that dog's, what's happened is you've done nothing but run that dog away from you and away from you and away from you, and they're just been hunted, and it's stumbled on freaking 3/4 of the blinds that you ran. You haven't finished a blind since duck season, truthfully, with that dog. So now you've got to teach that dog to finish a blind with you, and the best way to do it is always box your blinds in, and always run short ones, run your dog long, and make them come back in. Make them keep eye contact, and don't let them go into hunt mode. You need to. The only time you let them go into hunt mode is definitely when they smell it, and even then, a lot of times you need to beg for that. Not beg. You need to make that pup sit to a sit whistle and wait on that cast to pick up that bird. And sometimes it might be 5 seconds. Sometimes it might be 30 seconds. You need to let that dog make sure that your pup understands to not pick that bird up until directed to. It's a teamwork deal. Blinds are always teamwork, and you don't finish the blind till I tell you to. And correct me with your thoughts on that, Chris.
Well, so if I can interject a little bit. So ask him, Elliot, when he finishes his blinds to pick up, like just say the dog is a little bit off, does he go tweet to pick up the bird?
Yeah.
If he does do that, when he goes tweet to try to get him to come back, he's going into hunt mode immediately. Exactly. That's telling him to be hunting.
He doesn't do that. He
doesn't.
Okay. We'll do
we had Ray vote on here. And I've talked to Ray about this a lot too. He doesn't do the tweet here on a blind. He just says here. Like he literally vocal here. Like, I mean, come here. Because a lot of those dogs, if you go tweet,
that is a great idea. That is.
And I've started doing that, and it really, now I'm not a big screamer yeller by no means when I'm training, but I'll like here, and they're like, and if they don't come here, they're just like you do it, Nick, here. I said here. Because a lot of these dogs that you go tweet, they start going into hunt mode. And Freddie's got a great point by boxing that blind around and making him go. And if you've got any aspirations to run the grand or anything with your dog, which I hope you do, the last 15 yards of that blind is going to be a butt kicker. I'm telling you right now, if you can't finish the last 15 yards of the blind, you're in deep trouble. And I would start taking like blind poles away and everything. I would. And another thing that might be a great idea to do, and this is going to sound a little bit weird. So just imagine he's running at 12 o'clock, right? He's running at 12 o'clock. So imagine a straight line. So you have one at 12. You say you have 11. You have 10 o'clock. So imagine 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock go straight out. You're at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, but it's in a straight line. Run him at 12 o'clock. And if you want to, stop him, call him back, give him an angle. Or if he starts blowing you off, you're no longer going at 12 o'clock. I'm making you go to 10 o'clock.
That's it.
And then I'm calling you back, and I may make you go to 1 o'clock. You're going to go where I tell you to go, but you have it out. So you have bumpers at 10, 12, and 2. So if they do it correctly and they listen to you, they're rewarded with a bumper. You see what I'm saying? So you have set up some other blinds and make them go where you tell them to go. Because a dog like him, he goes self-employed. If you run at 12 o'clock and let's just say you're running a 200-yard blind, he's running at 12 o'clock and he runs perfectly at 12 o'clock for 175 yards, you are going to have a hell of a time convincing him to go to 10 because he thinks he's doing the right thing for 175 yards, if that makes sense. I do this too. So dogs like that, that's what I do. I make them go to where they don't want to go. So,
and I would also put some birds in your field and run past, scented birds and stuff like that. That dog's got to have it, have short stuff, 30, 40 yards downwind, blowing in his face or whatever, and make that dog take casts away from it.
Go rip some feathers off a duck and throw them out there in that area and then put a bumper out there.
Exactly.
And Chris, John said you trained this dog's dad, which was named Willie.
Oh, yeah. I put grand title and mash title on Willie. Willie was bad mamma jamba. And I'm going to tell you, I know Willie very, very well. That's not really a Willie. Let me take this back. Willie was a really, really good blind runner. But he was also a really independent dog, which made him a phenomenal marker. So I'll bet you this guy's dog marks lights out. And I'll bet you he's a little lacking on his handling, but those dogs, that's how they are.
So he talked about this dog coming out of duck hunting. I'm curious with the two of you. With Georgie, she understands the difference of a duck hunting blind and a hunt test blind. She knows if we're duck hunting, she has way more freedom to put her nose down because a lot of times I don't know where the bird is. So she understands, at least that's of our relationship, that she can put her, and sometimes she does it too quick and I got to stop her more. Do your dogs run duck hunting blinds exactly the same way they run hunt tests, or is there a little bit of different? I know, Chris, where you hunt, you probably always know where the birds are.
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes they fall across the river.
Or do they run them exactly the same?
So I'll answer this first, Freddie. I am a stickler when it comes to this because we've worked so hard to make these dogs do this. And I'm not going to disintegrate years of training on a stupid damn duck. So if I want them to go across the river and I give a 45, they're going to take a 45. Period. I'll stop them, recall them, correct, cast again. Now, if I don't know exactly where the bird's at, I'll let them get downwind a little bit, but you are going to do everything right from the time I send you to the time you get in the area of the fall. You're going to do what I tell you to do. Because if you don't at that distance, you have no chance at the end. So, yeah, I hold a really, really, really high standard when it comes to that.
Yeah. How about you, Freddie?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I hold a pretty high standard when we're hunting, just pretty much the same as when I'm training. And I mean, our e-collars are on my dogs 100% of the time when we're hunting. And if they move, Dana, Chris knows Dana. Well, probably most of y'all know Dana Giovanello and several other judges hunted with me this year, and they got to hunt with two young dogs that sat in each hole, and they work in tandem, swimming past each other and everything. Mm-hmm. And I would hold them to us. And the reason they're doing that and not being all over the place and belligerent fools is because of the standard. So, if I gave them a whistle and they didn't sit, they felt it. Even if they wanted, they had a downwind bird blowing scent right in their face, and the bird was drifting to them. But we had a cripple that was slowly swimming off that I knew that they could catch them. They better take that cast to the left, and I held them to that standard. I mean, you kind of got to, because if you don't, your next hunt, things are going to get worse and worse and worse. And all you're doing, if you correct this time, you don't next, you're sending mixed messages. And that is that's probably my biggest gripe I see with trainers. And let me say, not trainers, but with amateurs, is sending mixed messages with their, to their dogs. They correcting it the wrong time, or don't correct for this, and next time they do, and it's just, you can't do that. So you gotta have a standard that you stick to, and it doesn't matter if you're training or if you're hunting.
Yeah. So if let's say you've got a bird that drops 100 yards, and you pretty much know the general area it's at, but you don't know, say 50 yards, you don't know left or right. You can't send it straight to where the bird is because you don't know. So how do you handle that? Because in a hunt test or in training, you always know where the dead bird is, but in hunting, you don't. It could be 50, 60 yards left and right off. How do you handle that situation?
I can usually tell if I'm 50 yards off, then I didn't mark the bird very well.
No,
I try to.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? So you didn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got a big group come in, one floats off. You know it's over this way. You know it's about 100 yards, but you're not really sure where it's at.
Yeah, I would just get them downwind and hope for the best, or I walk out there with them and do a hunt them up.
Yeah.
Do you ever get them out there and just do you ever get them out there and give them some kind of signal, just like find it?
Yeah. Hunt them up, find it, hunt them up, find it. Byron Hassel does it all the time. He owns Maverick and Charlie with 2 bad mammoth jambas, and he'll go out there when we're hunting. He's a member of the club. He'll go out there, and if you don't know exactly where it's at, I mean, his dog's got 5 grand passes. The other one got 7, and he'll just hunt them up. He'll say find it, and Maverick just flies around. Right. But that's what he does, so he doesn't get into a pissing match on handling out there and start disintegrating training. He lets him just run around, but he's with them. So
okay,
yeah.
And 90% of those dogs, I mean, in all honesty, Asia was real good about this. Thief would do it most of the time, and I'd cast them downwind of that bird, whether it's 30, 40 yards. I mean, they're going to smell the duck if it's out there, or bird, goose, whatever, and they're going to smell it. And 90% of the time, they would keep going, and they would, you could see them just smell it and turn and stop and pop and look. They're like, that's over there. Should I go that way or not? And a lot of times I just give them that cast, and they go in there and hunt. So dogs that are, let's say, hunt savvy, and you've held to a standard on blinds like that, that's what they'll do. A lot of them. I know Chris has probably seen that 100 times.
Piles. Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This is another Patreon question. This is Grant Wolf. Have recently run my first few hunt tests. I've run my first few hunt tests this season, and she has overrun and puts on a big hunt on the go bird. She is a 3-year-old HRCH MH and made it through 3 series of the fall grand, never handled on a mark. Never had this happen before. 3 tests, 3 overrun go birds all on land. Then she nails the memory birds with no problem. He's not sure if this is a long-term problem, but after 3 in a row, he's starting to worry about the spring grand.
Are you throwing go birds that are incoming? I mean, that's
not straight at you, a 45-degree angle. Not straight at you, but a 45-degree angle.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you. I had a dog named Preacher who was Grand Retriever champion, Master Hunter, QAA, bad mammoth jamba. He did this all the damn time. So, and he big, strong. I mean, he was a monster. What I started doing with him in training, this is crazy. I would run everybody else as singles or a double or something like that, and I would make him run a triple, or I would make him run a quad, and I would pull him off the damn go bird. I'd move him over to a primary select, and I'd make him pick up that bird. Because what ends up happening, what I found out. I tried to throw the angles in. I tried to do all that. For some reason, he couldn't get it in his head. So I started doing that, and then he started mentally slowing down. Like, hey, I got to pay attention. Like, I want to go get this one. And he started paying attention more. Then at a test, he started pounding them go birds. Because he wasn't just like, the first mark comes out, his excitement goes up. Second mark comes out, the excitement goes up. Third mark goes out, now it's out of control excitement. And he just takes off running, and he just overruns them. So what I did was, like I said, I pulled him off there, primary selected to a different bird, and it slowed his brain down. He had to think. Instead of just running like, he actually had to think about what he was doing, which made him focus on that mark. And I did it to him in a test a bunch of times too, because I could see him starting to amp up, and we worked on it so hard in training, I would primary select him in a test. And it made him 10 times better on a go bird.
Grant said he thinks that's absolutely what is happening.
Yeah, if that dog's jacked up like that, then
now, I'm going to finish real quick, and you can have it, Freddie, but be careful, Grant. I'm going to tell you, primary selecting is very difficult on a dog's psyche. It is, you really, now, before this gets better, Grant, if you do what I just told you to do, before it gets better, it's going to get worse. Because he may not pick up the primary selection bird very well, but it will get better once he learns how to calm himself down. It will get better, but don't overdo this. Don't overdo this, because then the dog starts mentally getting fried. But I'm going to tell you, if you would throw your angles in and do what I told you to do, he'll start thinking a little bit. So go ahead, Freddie.
Well, what I would do is I'd throw that bird angled in and get that dog hard angle ends, not straight at us, hard angle ends, and I'd know off that bird and I'd run a blind.
Yep.
And then make that dog come back easy. And then cast it. You know, just you got to take the momentum in that dog. I'm sure you have a freaking dog that can cover 40 acres in about 3 seconds, just hard driving and just so amped up. And you've got to, like Chris is saying, you've got to mentally task that dog to get him to slow down and start thinking about things. And that the best, I used to not like to do them, those angled in marks. I used to hate them. I hate them. But now, dang it, you got to train the darn things. So I think a dog that's seen a lot of angled in marks, they do a lot better on that type of go bird setup that they're real short like that. They're going to spot mark it a little bit better. But to the same effect, I like to run that blind instead of running the mark, like Chris is saying, and then just
take it away from them.
Yeah, take that, make them drop down some notches and think about the whole process.
And this is the problem that I run in with some of my clients and people I talk to. They love that hard charging, fire breathing dragon until you have one. Until you have one, and this is the problem that you get. This right here, the dogs that maybe move a little slower and that are more intelligent, you are going to win more things and pass more stuff because they're thinking. These dogs like this, you've got to teach them how to think and calm down. And as a handler, when you have a dog like this, you become more slow and you become more deliberate. So you slow way down, and that dog has to match your speed. You don't match that dog's speed. So another thing too you could do, let's just say you're running a test and you see me amping up and you don't want a primary select, shoot the gun. Put the gun down. Put it down. Stand up.
Exactly.
Here, sit down. Just like sit down. Calm down. It's just like we're talking about. Calm down. Drop your hand and send them. Now, it's not 1, 2, 3, go. You've added something else to it where they will mentally decompress. So
exactly. Take as soon as that last bird hits the ground, take 30 seconds and just do whatever, because your dog's going to do the work. I mean, your dog's already proven the dog's there. It's just you got to mentally accrue that dog to the situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it sure is fun having a little Ferrari for a dog. I'll say that.
Until you wreck that side of the wall. Yep. I love a hard charging dog. Don't get me wrong, but I've cut my teeth on those. There's a lot of people that they don't understand how they're a different animal, man, and you all know that they're a different. Everybody wants it until you got it, and you're like, oh my god, now what do I do?
And the upkeep on them, holy smokes!
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I've really learned from both Chris and Eric and watching pros at different events is the calm, subtle demeanor. Like you think about my body language, Chris, when you watch me handle. Versus like,
I thought you were having a seizure. I thought I was doing 911.
Somebody getting some help.
I pumped that into this dog. I guarantee you that's why she's vocal.
No, you do.
She's bred for it too. I mean, she's got it. She's got the motor, and then you've just you got a dog with nitrous, and then you just stuck even more nitrous in it when you add your animation, and
right. And
they just explode.
Yeah. And with my next dog, I am going to get that calm demeanor that I see from all the best pros, because it just sinks into the dog. It just relaxes the dog. Mm-hmm. Versus my little things like, yeah, we're geeked up, let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like you were saying. The more you talk to them, the more you're going to amp them up. And you can. I get on, especially women trainers, for talking to their dogs way too much. But guys are just as bad. So
you don't need all that. Here, heel, sit, hold, drop. You don't. Just the least amount, the better.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, we got one more Patreon question. Let's finish it out with that one. How's that sound?
Works for me.
Okay.
All right. This is Bubba Hokut. He has an 8-year-old that got his season title at 4 years old. And then they took a hiatus from the games, and now he wants to finish him, and that they're having trouble remembering memory birds. So what is your favorite way to teach memory birds?
Is he using wingers or throwers?
I don't know. We'll see if he answers. I'm not sure. I think he's in here. In the
Go ahead, Freddie. You can answer some of that while you're in there, and I'll jump in.
Well, I mean, listen, there have been more grand and more master wingers, and got a buddy throwing. I just read that. There have been more grands and more. That's kind of nice the way that pops up there. Anyway,
I don't
there have been more grands and more master dogs taught by repeating memory birds. So what I'm saying is, you teach that long memory bird. You teach it as a single. You go back, let everybody else run their dogs, whatever else you got. Then you put it together in a double. Maybe run a blind before you pick it up, turn it into a triple, and then you come back and you run that mark. I bet you probably 70% of the grand dogs out there, that's the way they've been trained. And it's the best way to build confidence on dogs such as yours, and get them back to where they're marking solid. So to me, I always like to teach that big long punch bird, then put all the variables into it, and because that's what we do. I know Chris, I'm sure he's saying, he's looking out there. I want my mark. I want teach that mark right there. We want to teach that mark right there. And if you're teaching a mark, you can't put it in a double or a triple or what have you, because you're going to erode your dog's confidence for getting onto them for either cheating water or this or that. But if you teach that mark to them first, and then come back and put it in the multiple situation, or run a blind before you run it, that sort of thing, your dog's confidence is going to go through the roof, and they're going to be successful a lot more times than not.
Yep. And then I'll add another little thing too. This is what we do this all the time. So we have throwers. We hardly ever use wingers. So let's just talk about the throwers. So we do this all the time for our babies. We'll if we're going to, say we're done in, another thing too is, we'll get into all that. But so let's just say you've ran a double or a triple, and the dog you went outside. Now you want to do the long punch bird up the middle, and he's like a little bit confused. He's not locked in. All you got to do, man, is have your thrower step out and go, hey. Then go back to retire, and you can either send them right away then, or flip a bumper off to the side, pick up that bumper, come back and poke them out there. So, or if you have wingers, you can make noise out there. And that's not being defeated. That's just teaching the dog how to remember. You're not making it. You're not giving up and say, "Oh, he needs to learn that." This is how he's going to learn that, because he might be losing his confidence. And you're like, and that way, when you do that, let's just say you're going to have your gunner going to step out and go, hey, and that's when you say, "Where's that mark at? Where's that mark at?" Right there, good, right there. And then have him retire, and you can either send him, or you flip off a bumper to the side. Go pick up that bumper, come back, and then go, "Where's that mark at?" Good, right there. So now you've worked on your cues on how to, hey, where's that bird at? And now you've taught talked him into it, and now you're a team. So if you go to a test and you're like, and they look confused, you're like, good, where's that mark at? They're like, ooh, and they're good, right there. They're like, ooh, and they may not actually know exactly where it's at, but they trust you enough to go get it. Go as said.
Exactly.
And then they maybe run halfway to it and go, oh, that's where it's at, and they'll go pick it up. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. What you don't want to do is just keep running triples with zero success, because your market is going to go to hell.
Exactly.
And I love running delayed triples. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I always have, like you just said, I either work on a short check down bird or a long punch bird. And what I mean by delayed triple is let's just say I throw a short mark at 9 o'clock, throw a middle bird at 12. I go pick up 12. I come over here. Now I throw another one at 2, go get 2, come back and go get the one I threw at 9. That works a lot of memories. And you can work on a long punch bird that way or a short check down. So I do that a lot. If you keep working triples, it'll eat you up.
Yeah, I think delayed triples like that, to me, I think I like them better than double doubles.
Oh, I love a delayed triple. I love them.
I think they really do. And a lot of times I'll incorporate a blind in there instead of the actual mark, and it just seems like those dogs. Not to get off the subject or anything, what we were just talking about, I started doing poison bird setups a lot earlier with my dogs, but they were sight marks as far as the sight mark poison bird, and that gum, it just seems like my dogs are driving 10 times harder on blinds now because they can't wait to get done with that blind so they can pick up that dang mark. So I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway.
But there's a lot of, like I said, but working on memory, just don't keep running triples. Break it down, simplify it. Have somebody out there step out and help. Make your winger quack. Do something to help that dog learn instead of just going for it and hoping for the best.
Exactly.
Delayed triple.
I mean, you'll erode a dog's confidence big time. You go banging them on marks. I mean,
man, I'm telling you, if you run triple after triple after triple and they have to handle every day, you next thing you know, you can't even run a double. They're so mentally fried, they're done. They're done.
And if your dog is helped by the bird boy while out in the field, 2 to 3 times, they'll get bird boy dependent. And I mean, so you got to watch that too.
You do. Everything's you have to have a good balance in everything. So you can't overdo one thing. You got to be pretty balanced.
Well, I think that's about it. Anything else you guys have to add before we close this down?
No, I thought it was a good one. Nope, it was good. Thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, Freddie, we really appreciate you coming back with us.
I enjoyed it. Y'all just holler when I'll be ready to come back. So
podcasting's fun, man. It's fun to do all this and talk. It's like it's the same thing basically like if you guys were just sitting around, you'd be talking training and different scenarios, and it's just a blast. So
you'd be shocked. Really we all get together. We don't even talk training. We talk duck hunting.
From what I can tell, you pretty much just make fun of T-Zone.
Yeah, we make fun of people. Yes. yes.
Poor guy.
That's bad.
Well, hey, those of you that are listening, come join us at patreon.com/Jobman. It was so fun having the patrons here asking questions, and it made the experience a lot better because a lot of times when we get questions, there's not enough information for Chris to be able to answer. So when they're there and actually being able to give more information, I think it's a lot more.
I love that. Awesome. Love how you can look in on what they're asking. I love that aspect of it. It's more fun.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go ahead and shut this down, Chris. We'll be back on in a couple more weeks with the next episode.
Thank you, Freddie, for coming. Thank you, Elliot. We'll see everybody in the line. Take dead aim.